It was February 19th, and a U.S. Air Force F-16 was roaming over the Red Sea in a routine patrol. The aircraft was flying in its usual trajectory. The sky seemed clear, formation was steady, and there seemed to be no sign of trouble, until it wasn't. In just a matter of seconds, one of the finest U.S. fighter jets was shot by the Houthi forces, and this could have been their biggest mistake. The U.S. Houthi conflict has seen everything from U.S. cargo ship destruction to the complete abomination of Houthi bunkers. But this attack took things way too far. What seems like a simple attack could turn out to be the cause of Houthis' extinction. Following this attack, the U.S. Air Force will not stand back, as they will retaliate with maximum speed and damage. Buckle up as we look at the Houthi attack on U.S. aircraft and how it might be their biggest mistake yet. On February 19, 2025, at precisely 5:23 p.m., the U.S. Navy, along with an F-16, was patrolling above the Red Sea. The 421st Fighter Squadron aircraft was soaring 30,000 feet up in the air, providing cover to the U.S. Navy task force along the treacherous coast of Yemen. It had a pretty simple and standard mission: watch the horizon, cover the naval fleet, and be prepared for anything. However, the thing about the word anything is that it has an element of surprise embedded into it, and that's exactly what struck them. The pilot could see the sun setting into the incredible Red Sea, casting a golden haze across the water, and the atmosphere was almost majestic. Emphasis on the word almost. As the pilot was soaking in the beauty from his cockpit, his AN/APG-83 radar started to ring hastily. The approaching threat seemed to be subtle at first, but as it got closer, he was shocked. Coming from the land near Al-Hudaydah, a powerful SA-6 missile was approaching the pilot. What's so special about this missile, you may ask? Unlike many other warheads, the SA-6 has an impressive range of 23 kilometers, clocking in at a top speed of Mach 2.8. Its mission: turn anything that flies too close to it into smaller pieces. This time it was targeting the Falcon. In a split-second decision, the pilot pushes the aircraft's stick forward and dives it down from 30,000 to 15,000 feet in just a few seconds. This dive helped him escape the radar tracking, and the SA-6 was left in the air, tracking, adjusting, and hunting its target. It might seem like a regular interception, but what's about to happen next is sure to turn it into something else, something the Houthis aren't expecting. If you think that the F-16 was safe after the first strike, then you're wrong. Before the first SA-6 could clear its arc, a second one followed by a third one was launched by Houthis towards the American F-16. This was a pretty good indicator that the first strike wasn't just a warning. Instead, the Houthis were there to cause serious collateral damage. Even though the SA-6 uses a rather old technology, it is still one of the most dangerous missiles in the world. It uses a semi-active radar homing, which allows it to shoot missiles from a ground-based fire control. This means that if the radar catches a target, the SA-6 won't miss it easily. From the instant dive, the F-16 pilot bought himself some time and forced the radar system to start from scratch. However, this wasn't enough, as more missiles were fired to follow the aircraft. With multiple missiles following the Falcon, the F-16 soars to tackle it. With sharp angles, random vectors, and high G-loads, the aircraft did everything to lose the missiles. The aircraft flew close to high off angles as the radar struggled to track objects, losing its effectiveness by nearly 50%. The F-16 uses Raven's Perimeter Intrusion Detection System, or PIDS, to defend itself. This advanced defensive suite mounted along the spine of the Falcon uses ultraviolet sensors to catch the missile trails and deploy interception measures. The F-16 fired 12 MJU-50B flares and 24 RR-180 chaff bundles to form a half-kilometer decoy to confuse the radar-guided and heat-seeking detectors. However, this wasn't all, as the Falcon hadn't revealed his ace card: the ALQ-184 electronic warfare pod. The state-of-the-art system used a low and vibrating hum pulse to jam the enemy's fire control radar. This disrupted the communication between SA-6 and its control center. Without guidance from the control center, the missiles were ineffective. One by one, each SA-6 lost track and was neutralized, allowing the Falcon to return home safely. Deep down, the pilot and U.S. Army knew that it wasn't over. 44 minutes after the F-16's narrow escape, The US MQ-9 Reaper drone was deployed to silently circle 50 miles northeast of Houthis. It was deployed to monitor the Houthi movements along key supply routes in the Red Sea. It was silently doing reconnaissance until it wasn't. At exactly 6:07 p.m., another SA-6 missile was launched in the air, and this time it was targeted towards the Reaper. Within 8 seconds of the launch, the drone's missile warning system picked up the incoming SA-6 missile and immediately rose 15,000 feet in the air. It reached a position high enough to reach the missile's blind spot and buy itself some time. On the way, it deployed flares and chaff thanks to its AN/ALE 467 countermeasure suite to distract the missile. The Reaper is able to react in seconds after a command, which is impressive for an unmanned aerial device. Still, this wasn't enough, as the SA-6 is an aggressive missile. During the chase, steel pellets from the warhead scraped the Reaper's right wing. This wasn't a big deal, as the drone didn't incur much damage and was still able to power on. After escaping the missile, it smoothly returned back to the base, underwent some minor fixing at the wing, and boom, the Reaper was ready to soar again. On paper, it might not seem much, but this attempt to target a U.S. aircraft operating under protection is a line that shouldn't have been crossed. For the U.S. Air Force and Navy, this wasn't a regular attack. It was a signal that the Houthis had shifted their tactics from harassing ships to launching aggressive attacks on U.S. assets. They are now looking to draw blood after this series of attacks. After 2 consecutive SA-6 strikes, the U.S. naval forces had enough. The Reaper incident was a sign that they needed to respond quickly and strongly. By 3:45 a.m. the next day, the Arleigh Burke-class destroyer USS Spruance had received the orders from CENTCOM to neutralize the Houthi SA-6 launcher before it makes another move, and for that they opted for the SM-6. For missions like this, the SM-6 is an unconventional choice, especially if you're looking to carry out ground strikes. The incredible piece of technology is used to intercept airborne threats by reaching a staggering speed of Mach 3.5 while carrying a 1,500-pound destructive warhead. In a mission where you want to destroy a mobile launched, you need blazing fast speed, hence the SM-6. Upon receiving the orders, the USS Spruance immediately launched 2 SM-6 missiles. They precisely followed the mapped path and swiftly struck the SA-6 launcher without any interception. The strike turned the launcher into pieces, along with 8 Houthi members. After the launch, US satellite confirmed a clean strike and making the mission a huge success. This strike was a clear message to the Houthis that their actions will have a stronger reaction. The US Navy has made it clear that they will not let the Houthis get away with their plans. Apart from Houthis, it's a clear message to the world that you don't target US aircrafts at any cost. The F-16 and Reaper strikes weren't just strikes. They were a signal that the Houthis aren't what the US force thought they were. These events proved the Pentagon's findings that the Houthis aren't your ordinary lucky militants with access to old Soviet technology. Instead, they're a technologically empowered group which launches calculated strikes. Between the years 2014 and 2015, the Houthi forces captured a total of 12 to 15 SA-6 launchers during the Yemeni air defense collapse. These launchers didn't go in vain, as Iran salvaged and modified them with new radars, seekers, and improved command center to increase their efficiency. These launchers, which used to be a key part of the Cold War, quickly transformed into a key threat to US forces in the Red Sea. Even after the response from the US Navy, the Houthis didn't stop and further escalated things, which forced the government to initiate a stronger response. At exactly 6 p.m. on February 20th, the USS Harry S. Truman launched 4 waves of FA-18 Super Hornets loaded with AGM-154 Joint Standoff Weapons, or JSOW. These JSOWs were a strategic choice as they carry an impressive range of over 130 kilometers, which allows its carrier to stay away from danger. The GPS guides these missiles to its target, which makes them ideal for striking hidden or buried targets. Each JSOW carried 145 bomblets, which are enough to bring down bunkers. These missiles were headed towards a network of reinforced bunkers near Sana'a, which the US Navy speculated housed advanced munitions and launch equipment for SA-6 and other deadly missiles. They wanted to neutralize the Houthis' future movements and send them a strong signal. The strike wasn't enough, as the US had something else in mind. While this strike was in progress, another U.S. Arleigh Burke-class destroyer, U.S. Gravely, launched 6 Tomahawk cruise missiles at different Houthi facilities. Just like the SM-6, these weren't any regular warheads. These incredible pieces of technology that can cover a distance of 1,500 miles at a top speed of 550 miles per hour. These strike locations were picked after months of reconnaissance.
Because of these explosions that's happening, it's clear to me that there might be some assets involved that we don't quite know about yet, and we'll see how that evolves as we move forward. Now I want to talk.
The results of these strikes were disastrous. According to the satellite footage and strike assessment, it could be confirmed that 14 ballistic missiles, 3 SA-6 launchers, and 23 cruise missiles were destroyed in these hidden territories. What happened in the past few months on Yemen's coast and the Red Sea wasn't another headline. It is rather a textbook example of modern air warfare and how wars will be fought in the future. This entire clash between the Houthis and the US Navy clearly indicates that when it comes to defense, the US aircrafts follow a layered approach. The F-16's critical defense during the Houthi airstrike was possible because of its layered and integrated defense systems. For starters, its radar detected the incoming SA-6 missile at an early stage, which allowed the pilot to quickly shift his position. Its PID system flooded the sky with several flares and chaff to distract the missile, and finally, its ALQ-184 pod disrupted the drone's connection. Even the US Reaper drone managed to outsmart the Houthi missile by shifting its position, deploying flares and chaff, and finally neutralizing it. These strikes, their defense, and the retaliation is a clear example that the US Navy is a force to be reckoned with. The Houthis have been testing their limits for the past few years, and this recent strike is a strong message that the US won't step back now. That's all for today. How do you think the Houthis will respond to it? Or will they pull back their horses? Let us know in the comment section below. While you're there, make sure to hit the like button and consider subscribing to the channel for more videos like this.